2 years ago, I decided to take the biggest risk of my life and start an Amazon FBA store and go all in for 6 months. Fast forward to where we're at now is the best decision I ever made, rounding out somewhere around 40K a month in profits every single month. But back then I was broke working a 9-to-5 warehouse job, and I'm not gonna lie, this did not seem like it was gonna work out in the beginning. So for anybody going through the same thing right now, this is why I got started on the Amazon FBA, how it came to be where I'm at right now, and why I think really you should just keep going. Because to be honest with y'all, it was a tough decision saying I'm gonna leave my comfortable job where I get this paycheck every month and I'm gonna go into business for myself. Especially putting all my eggs into one basket on Amazon, because in the beginning, you see all these different business models. I saw trading, I saw Amazon, I saw credit repair, I saw all kind of things that I could start. I was very confused on where I should start, and to be honest, I wanted to start a bunch at one time, which is a big mistake that I see a lot of people make in the beginning. They want to start a bunch of different business models and see which one works. And to be honest with you, that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can make mindset wise. If you are starting something and you're like, I'm gonna see if this works, that's the totally wrong mindset. Because I'll tell you right now, every business model out there works. All right. Every business model you see somebody making money at, it works. Somebody learned how to make money from it. And I can see that now. I have friends in a lot of different industries making lots of money, teaching students of their own. But a lot of times you convince yourself it's not going to work as soon as you get started. I like seeing people come to the table ready to win on a mission, because that's the way I was in the beginning. Is I knew this was going to have to work because I'm giving it my all for 6 months. And that's how I got started. Was I was working my warehouse job 9 to 5, right? Every single day, waking up. I didn't really hate my job. I hear a lot of people say, I hated my job. I didn't really hate it, which made it kind of even harder because I actually kind of liked working there. But I knew I had more in store for me. I knew I had more to life than just waking up, going to work, and budgeting the things that I wanted in life. Bro, if there was one thing that held me back and one thing that pissed me off more than anything, it was budgeting. I hated having a budget for a dinner. I hated having a budget for a date. I hated having a budget for which car. I hated settling. So this was my way of getting out of that settlement period of my life, because I always felt like there's more in life than to settle. I'm gonna say it again, I hated settling, right? So I made a decision a long time ago. I've always wanted to chase more, right? I always had a bigger dream. And everybody says, I wanted to be this, I wanted to be that. I just wanted to make money. And I've tried businesses before. I've tried making a clothing line before. I tried doing a SMMA, social media marketing agency. I've tried being a freelance photographer, a freelance videographer. I tried a lot of different things over the years, especially when I was younger, and borrowing money from my parents to start these businesses. I burned those bridges already. And to be honest with y'all, a lot of that was stressful. A lot of that was adding up on my plate. All right, I've tried this. None of it worked. Parents are disappointed. I'm disappointed, frankly. But nothing ever deterred me. And if you want to be successful in life, that's what it's got to be like. You go through failure on top of failure on top of failure, and you keep going. That shit should not even faze you in the slightest, because the way I was looking at it was I was getting failures out the way, right? You look at these people, if you want to be successful, you got to look at successful people, right? You look at the people who are very successful and they all say the same thing. I failed more times than I can count. And that's exactly where I'm at too. I failed so much that there was just nothing left for me to do besides be successful. And a lot of it came down to me just making a decision. I'm not going to half step this time. I'm not going to pump fake. I'm not doing none of this half in, half out. I'm going all in, right? So the first thing I did whenever I made the decision to get serious with Amazon was research, obviously, right? Got into a mentorship, watching and consuming Amazon content like crazy, because another part of getting out of that struggle phase, getting out of that, for me, what I like to call the budget phase, was you have to make a switch in your head that you're going to sacrifice temporarily for a lifetime of success, right? Because in the beginning, it feels like a sacrifice. All your free time is gone. All that pleasure seeking and all that, I'm gonna get on the game, I'm gonna watch TV, I'm gonna watch these funny YouTubers. That was what I was doing most of the time, but that shit got me nowhere. It got me to the specific place that I was in. And that's what you can always remember, is the things you were doing 6 months ago are the reason you are right now where you're at. All right. So I was stuck in this frame of I always wanted to get rich next week, right? I always wanted to get rich ASAP. And still, I got that mindset, but you have to think long term. I made a switch to think long term, and I said, all right, I'm going to grind this for 6 months for real. I'm getting rid of all the funny podcasts. I'm getting rid of listening to useless material. wasting time, video games, hanging out with friends. You could ask the people around me during this time, I was not hanging out. I was not going to functions. I was not doing nothing. And I've always been by myself, and I've always had that, oh, I just want to work kind of mentality. But especially in this time, if I wasn't at work, I was either doing Lyft and Uber, or I was working on my Amazon store. And that's just the way it's got to be, because when you're trying to get out of a 9-to-5 budget lifestyle, it's going to take some sacrifice. Whenever you're starting a new business, you either have one of two things: time or money to invest. If you don't got either one of those things, you're not starting nothing. And a lot of people want to make an investment of time, but they put a little bit of time into it, and then after that, it's, oh, well, it didn't work in a week and whatever. But I knew that this was going to take a while, and I knew I was going to give it my all. So I worked with my mentor. I'm a huge proponent of mentors, as you could probably guess. I mentor my own students to do this as well. But I got into Amazon, right? I started noticing, all right, first things first, I'm gonna have to order some products, because this ain't gonna work if I don't got no products. Amazon is a very product heavy game. People want to get in here and want to shortcut the game. They want to learn, oh, all these different things. One thing I noticed right away with my work ethic was that everyone in the mentorship that I was in, they were getting into it. And our mentor told us, right, the first thing to start doing is finding products. And that's what I stress to my students too, is find products ASAP. Learn how to source. Once you know how to source, that's the way you got it down, right? And so I knew I had to learn how to source, but everyone I saw was worried about ungating. They were worried about shipping templates. They were worried about this and that, trying to make it feel good to start the business, taking all these different steps. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably should have taken some other steps. I probably should have set some stuff up on the back end. I probably should have had systems set up and whatnot. But as soon as I got in, I focused on finding products. And that time was hard. Like I said, my free time was gone. I told myself, I'm going to either be getting money from Lyft and Uber in my job, or I'm going to be working on my store. So my days around that time looked like this. I would wake up Monday through Friday, get to my job at 7, work from 7 to 4, and then I get off, maybe drive Uber and Lyft for a little bit, and then get home, and I'll be grinding Amazon. I would be spending hours on Amazon on my computer, just trying to figure out, how do I find these products? Because I knew I could do it. I knew there was a way out there. And that's something you got to convince yourself too. If somebody has done it before, you can do it as well. And to be honest, once you've done enough things that other people have done, you're accomplishing things that seemed impossible, but because someone else did them, you do them too. Once you do enough of those tasks, you realize even things that have not been done before, I can also do. Nothing is impossible, especially when it comes to like online money space. You have no idea. The amount of moves that I've made within these last 2 years have been astronomical to what I was doing before. I cannot stress to y'all how crazy it is going from a normal guy, and I'm still a normal guy, but going from my 9-to-5 warehouse job where I was making $1,200 every 2 weeks, $600 a week. I remember that. I remember getting those checks and being like, ooh, I got a pretty fat check, $1,200. Once you touch some of this online money, $1,200 in a day is my minimum now. Those standards get rose up. Those standards rise high really fast, because you see the amount of progress you can make. You see the amount of work you can do online. Making money online is such a beautiful thing, because one, anybody can learn it. If I can learn this, I promise you, you can do it too. I'm kind of ranting right now, but I want to vocalize some of this stuff, because I feel like I give you a lot of information for sure. But I know there's a lot of people out there who struggle with, should I do this, motivation and whatnot. And motivation should never depend on motivation to do something, because you almost have to be like, something I rely on to be successful in business is being calculated and focused, one-track minded, almost like a robot. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to change the way I'm doing something because I'm not successful. I'm not going to change the way I'm doing something because I don't feel right or I don't feel good. I'm going to make a decision on what I'm going to do, and I'm going to execute steps A, B, C, D, E until I reach my goal. And that's what it has to be. Because if you're half-stepping in any sort of way when you're doing business, you will fall short to these people like me who are out here, who have a plan and who are executing every step of that plan. And so around this time when I was sourcing, and around this time that I was going hard, no free time, right? Trying to make a change, go from budget lifestyle to no budget lifestyle. I was writing my plan out every single day. Matter of fact, I'll show y'all. Give me 1 second. Because I still got all my notebooks in here of all the plans that I wrote And y'all could see that I'm not lying. Every day I would be planning. Every day, notes. Every day, studying what kind of business I'm gonna do, right? These are notes on credit repair, notes on Amazon, notes on everything that I was learning from mentors, from classes, from YouTube videos. I was determined. When I say that I was determined, I was on a straight mission to look at this. This was my goal. $3,000 in 3 days was my goal. And I would not take anything less than that. That was my goal. When I say I don't tell y'all to do anything that I have never done before, and I don't tell y'all to do anything that I would not, that doesn't work. But I've taken the notes. I have done this over and over again. And I've noticed a shift in life every single time I take time out of my day, right, to set some time aside, take notes, and write out a plan, break it down step by step. Those goals always happen. Because what you have to realize is your brain can get you into amazing places, but it's also designed to keep you comfortable. And it's also designed to only do things that make sense, right? So if you come up with this crazy goal, I want to be like Lane and make 40K a month from Amazon. Well, first starting out, your brain has no idea how to get from point A to point B, right? It doesn't know the steps to go from, maybe you're making $1,200 every 2 weeks like me in your job, and you want to go from $1,200 every 2 weeks to 40K a month. Your brain doesn't know how to do that. But if you educate yourself and you say, all right, from $1,200 every 2 weeks to 40K a month, these are the steps I have to take. First, I have to open my accounts for Amazon. Secondly, I have to find products to put in my Amazon store. Third, while I'm doing this, I have to get my credit right and I have to get business funding so I can pass up all these other people who are starting Amazon and don't have the bread to start. That's how your brain can accomplish these little goals one at a time and then be working towards a bigger goal. That's what I trick my brain into doing. That's how I trick my brain into being successful, is just by taking these goals, breaking them up into smaller bite-sized goals that I can accomplish on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, and hitting those goals every single time. You have to be disciplined too. You have to keep yourself accountable and not only write these goals down, but also hit them. It's very important that the writing is awesome, but you have to do the work. You have to put the action in. So anyways, getting back to where I was at in my story, I'm grinding Amazon hard. I am not only doing Amazon, but I'm working my 9 to 5 at the warehouse and driving Lyft and Uber on the side. And when I tell y'all what I was eating around that time, whatever I could get my hands on. HEB is a store here in Texas, right? If y'all are from Texas, y'all know what I'm talking about, HEB. We have this store, HEB, it's like a grocery store, and they got these drumsticks, chicken drumsticks, right? They're the cheapest source of protein that I could find. You could find them for anywhere from $3 to $5 for 4 big ass drumsticks. I would get those and that would be my meal. I would spend, when I tell y'all I was sacrificing to get out of that budget lifestyle, I had to be on top. I had to make it out of where I was at. And I would eat those meals every single day while I was grinding. And that's okay. That felt good, to be honest with you. I kind of missed those days because I was on a mission and I had a greater purpose. As humans, we need a greater purpose. A lot of people have religion. A lot of people have a family. A lot of people have a girlfriend or a kid or whatever that may be. My greater purpose at that time was making it out of the struggle I was in. And whenever you have a greater purpose, everything changes. Your mindset shifts. Your brain starts working in different ways. You just have to convince yourself that you have a bigger purpose. It's not just about yourself. It's about other things around you. It's about making it. It's about your family. It's about your girl. It's about your mom. It's about your dad. It's about all these things. Right now, my bigger purpose, I've got money. My bigger purpose is now my students, is now my family, is now my friends, making sure everybody's coming up with me at one time. You always need a bigger purpose, right? So like I said, my bigger purpose at that time was just straight up coming up out of that budget phase. So I'm budgeting hard. I'm eating these chicken drumsticks. I would eat at Chick-fil-A a lot too, because if you know about Chick-fil-A, you know that the Chick-fil-A app is crazy because you get all kind of crazy points. And so I was eating at Chick-fil-A a lot so I could get free Chick-fil-A too. I would even do the receipts where you do the redeemable free chicken sandwich from the receipt. Bro, when I'm telling y'all from a perspective that I came from. I'm not just sitting here telling y'all what to do because I haven't been through it. I have done the homework. You could go back and see where I came from. You could go to Hood Rich's vlogs. I'll put a link somewhere. I'll show y'all a little picture of, I was one of my early mentors, or one of my early credit mentors. Y'all could see that I was going to people asking for help. I showed up, I booked a flight to New York as soon as I could, as soon as I was making a little bit of money off Amazon. I booked a flight to New York to go see my mentor, Zach, collecting knowledge, because I knew I can't be like these other amateurs that are starting Amazon, that are starting credit, and they're not making it. I'm getting in this business to not make it. And so I'm doing things that other people are not doing. That's something else you got to realize, is that if you want an outcome that is extraordinary, you've got to be willing to do extraordinary work, things that other people are not doing. So if you see somebody winning, you got to be willing to do what they're doing plus some, because I knew that I was coming from a place, I did not have as much money as these other people started. I did not have the type of time that these other people did. So I've got to do what they're doing plus times 10,000. And I'm always willing to outwork the competition. And you've got to be too. If you are at the bottom, use that hunger, because in the beginning, my hunger and my drive was my edge on these other people who are starting, that are just, in my opinion, lazy. Like, a lot of people are lazy. They'll say they work hard. They'll say they're entrepreneurs, or they want to be whatever, always willing to do what you're doing plus some. And I'll stay up late, and I'll put the extra work in, and I'll do the extra study, and I'll take the notes. People don't take notes no more. Sorry, I'm rambling again. But anyways, so I start Amazon store, products in there. And then I start making a lot of mistakes, man, because when I tell y'all I was moving fast, and when I tell y'all that I was really on a mission, I'm on a mission. But what comes with being on a mission is that you start moving so fast that you start making these mistakes because you're not paying attention to everything. And I would never say that I regret it, because all these mistakes made me who I am. All these mistakes made me stand 10 toes down and really tested me. Like, do you really want to do this? Do you really want to be an entrepreneur when you send in, Amazon product and then it gets lost and you're out? Do you really want to be an entrepreneur when it's 4:00 in the morning? You got work at 7, but you still got studying and notes to take. Do you really want to be an entrepreneur when you've been looking for 3 weeks and haven't found a single product? Great, great thing to strive for, but I don't think people really know what it takes, to the sacrifice that it takes to get somewhere. So around this time, I'm telling y'all, sleepless nights, pinching pennies. But I got my first big break, right? I got my first big break. I had sourced, it took me 3 weeks, literally. It took me 3 weeks to find a good product, in my store. And I found it. I sent it to my mentor, and he said, "You got one?" And so I was like, hell yeah, I got one. Bought 10 of them, put them in my store. Boom, made $200, I believe. And from there, I was like, all right, I found one. I can find more. Long story short, I found about 5 products, put them into my store, made good money. I was up like $500 at this point. Yeah. And, got comfortable. I got comfortable. And at this point, honest with y'all, I had spent a lot of that 500 because I got a girl, a girlfriend, taking her on dates, like I was the man, like I'm gonna make this Amazon shit happen. Can't nobody talk to me. Measly $500 got to my head, man. So got a real hard reality check around that time, because I had ran through that 500. I didn't have anything to put into my store. I didn't have anything, I had to come back to square one, basically. And I took some time off of Amazon because I was real disappointed in myself. I took about probably 2-3 weeks, maybe a month off of Amazon. I wasn't sourcing at all. And I was honestly tired of the sourcing process too, because that's something that can get very intense. Looking on a screen, trying to find products, it can get draining, so you don't have your mission in mind. So, I kind of got complacent, but then also around that time, I realizing where I was at in life. I was at this crossroads where, times in life we get to these crossroads where one decision can dictate how your life goes for the next 5-10 years. And so I was at this road where I was like, it's either get back on sourcing, start Amazon again, or go down this road of being normal. I was like, nah, I'm not about to be normal. So got back on Amazon. I was grinding. I quit doing Uber and Lyft. I was like, all right, I'm going to take my check from work and just flip that. And the rest of the time I'm going to spend finding products, because I already knew at that time that finding products, that's the game changer. If you could find products, you're going to be all right. And so I was probably 6 hours a day sourcing every single day, Monday through Sunday. When I tell y'all my grind had no stop at that time, it had no stop. Birthdays, I wasn't there. Dances, I wasn't there. Y'all going out? Cool. Y'all ain't gonna catch me there. I'm gonna be in this room grinding. And that's what it was. And that's what it took. But that got me eventually to the point of I was making around $5,000 a month from Amazon. And it was just pure hustle at that point. I'm not gonna sit here and say I had some secret sauce back then, because I didn't. But Amazon is one of those businesses where as long as you're doing what you're supposed to, you're going to make bread, because things sell on Amazon. I can't even explain to you how much money there is to be made on Amazon if you just buy products and put them into your store. You see everyday people doing it on my success stories, or me. I'm an everyday person, but I know a lot of people like to see success stories in students that are just starting, because that's what I was looking for when I first started. But everyday people, and so with this mindset and with this work ethic, I had gotten myself to a point where I was making $5,000 a month from Amazon, and I was comfortable leaving my job because I was already more than I was making at my job. And around that point is when I get in touch with a mentor who started to teach me about credit. And I always knew I wanted to get my credit right, but I never knew what I could use it for. And it wasn't until I had Amazon products coming in and going out, and I'm trying to scale this thing up because I got people to take care of. I got to keep going. And so I really start realizing credit can help me take this thing to the next level. Credit can help me take this business that's making $5,000 a month to who knows how much. So then started focusing on getting my credit right and getting business funding, because for y'all that don't know about business funding, it is a huge hack for any of us that are starting at the bottom. If you have money already and you can spend that to start your Amazon store, that's great. And that's good for you. But a lot of us don't. A lot of people do not have the money to go all in on an Amazon store. So business funding was that for me. Business funding, I got my credit right, and I had access now to $80,000 from Chase to go ahead and buy more products and pass up a lot of these people who were starting Amazon. And that's kind of how I got into Amazon. The rest is history from there. I started just scaling harder, putting more stuff into my store, and just believing in myself at the end of the day. A lot of it comes down to believing in yourself. You got to have that vision that, all right, I'm going to start this, and no matter what people think, no matter how it's going, no matter how I feel, I'm going to do this until it pops off, until it's successful. And it's a big risk, but you take the big risks, you get the big rewards. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. So this is just a little rant. I'm always giving y'all info-based content and focus a lot on giving y'all info-based content. And I'm going to continue to do that because I'm going to continue to make y'all money, and I'm going to continue to make the students in my mentorship as much money as possible. But just wanted to give y'all a different side, show y'all what it was like coming up, kind of why I got into Amazon, and hopefully inspire and hopefully give y'all some inside look at if you are going through that budget phase, it doesn't last forever, and you got it. Just keep grinding, sell things online, and make lots of money.